Captain Lisa Morgan stood at the bridge of the U.S. Constellation, her blue eyes fixed on the massive screen before her. The coffee in her cup had gone cold hours ago, forgotten in the excitement of the moment. Strange signals had been coming in all morning, unlike anything they'd ever seen before. "Captain, we're picking up something big entering our solar system," said Jack Wilson, her radar specialist. His voice was steady, but his hand shook slightly as he worked the controls. "Show me," Lisa ordered, setting down her cup. The screen lit up with an image that made everyone on the bridge catch their breath. 3 massive ships, each one bigger than any space station Earth had ever built, were moving past Jupiter's orbit. They shone like polished chrome in the distant sunlight. "Are they responding to our greeting messages?" Lisa asked, referring to the standard peace broadcasts they'd been sending out since detecting the approaching vessels. Susan Baker, the communications officer, shook her head. "No, Captain. But wait, we're getting something now." The bridge speakers crackled to life with a voice that sounded like grinding metal. "Primitive species of Sol-3, this is Commander Xar of the Zarkax Confederation. Your planet has resources we require. Submit to our authority or face immediate destruction. You have 1 Earth hour to respond." Lisa's jaw tightened. 6 months ago, she had been worrying about budget cuts to the space program. Now she was facing humanity's first alien contact, and it wasn't going well. "Send our response," she said after a moment. "Tell them Earth is a sovereign world, and we are open to peaceful trade, but we will not surrender." The next 45 minutes were tense. The alien ships drew closer, their massive forms now visible even to Earth's ground telescopes. Lisa used this time wisely, sending coded messages to all Earth's space assets with specific instructions. "Captain," Jack called out suddenly, "they're launching smaller ships. Hundreds of them." Lisa smiled grimly. She had expected this. "Launch our defensive satellites. Susan, send the coded signal to all our ships in the asteroid belt." What happened next would be remembered in human history books forever. As the Zarkax fighter ships approached Earth, expecting an easy victory, they found themselves caught in a carefully planned trap. Lisa had positioned Earth's mining ships behind key asteroids. At her signal, they used their mining lasers to superheat the space rocks, then their tractor beams to launch the now exploding asteroids toward the enemy fleet. The Zarkax ships, built for overwhelming force rather than maneuverability, couldn't dodge fast enough. Their shields, designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, weren't prepared for chunks of superheated rock moving at incredible speeds. Several fighters were destroyed immediately, while others spun out of control. "Now show them what else humans can do," Lisa ordered. The Constellation, along with Earth's small fleet of space vessels, emerged from hiding behind Earth's moon. They weren't warships. They were research vessels and cargo ships. But Lisa had come up with a plan for that too. "Release the mining drones," she commanded. Thousands of small remote-controlled mining drones, usually used for asteroid mining, swarmed toward the confused Zarkax fleet. Each drone carried a small amount of mining explosives, normally used to crack open asteroids. Against ship hulls, they were surprisingly effective. The Zarkax, expecting to find helpless prey, instead found themselves facing an enemy that used their own environment as a weapon. After losing over 30 fighters and one of their capital ships suffering serious damage, they retreated past Mars' orbit. A final message came through. "This is not over, humans. You will regret this defiance." Lisa stood at her command post, watching the alien ships retreat. "Send them one last message," she told Susan. "Tell them, we will be ready." The bridge crew cheered, but Lisa remained serious. She knew this was just the beginning. Earth had won its first space battle, but they had also made a powerful enemy. They would need to prepare for what was coming next. "Get me Earth Command," she ordered. "Tell them we need to start building proper warships, and tell Robert Hayes and Dr. Foster at the Defense Research Center that I want to meet with them immediately. It's time humanity learned to properly defend itself." As she looked out at the stars through the bridge's viewport, Lisa Morgan knew that everything had changed. Humanity had just proved it could stand up to an advanced alien race, but their victory had come from quick thinking and creative use of mining equipment. Next time, they would need real weapons and proper warships. The age of peaceful space exploration was over. The age of human space warfare had begun. Robert Hayes wiped sweat from his forehead as he stared at the holographic design floating above his workbench. 6 months had passed since the Zarak attack, and he hadn't taken a single day off. Dark circles under his eyes showed his dedication, but he didn't care. Earth needed this ship. "You should get some sleep," said Dr. Emily Foster as she walked into the lab, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Robert. Her long white lab coat had grease stains on it, showing she worked just as hard as he did. "Can't sleep," Robert said, taking a sip. "Not while those aliens could come back any day. Look at this." He pointed to the ship design. "We've built it wrong. We're thinking like humans trying to copy alien tech. We need to think differently." Emily set down her coffee and walked around the hologram. "What do you mean?" "The Zarak ships use brute force. Big guns, strong shields. But Captain Morgan beat them using gravity and physics. What if we built our whole ship around that idea?" Emily's eyes lit up. She quickly typed some calculations into her tablet. "You mean using gravity itself as both weapon and shield? That's brilliant, Robert." For the next 12 hours, they worked nonstop. They'd redesigned the ship's core around a new kind of engine, one that could create and control artificial gravity fields. The ship would be smaller than the huge Zarak vessels, but far more clever in its design. 3 months later, they stood in the massive construction bay near Mars, watching as workers put the final touches on their creation. The ship was beautiful, sleek and dark, with smooth lines that made it look fast even when standing still. Unlike the shiny Zarak ships, this one was painted in dark colors that would help it hide in space. "She needs a name," Emily said softly. "Guardian," Robert replied without hesitation. "Because that's what she'll do. Guard Earth and humanity." The ship's main feature was its revolutionary gravity core. It could create gravity wells to pull enemy ships off course, use gravity waves as shields, and even compress gravity into destructive beams. Best of all, since it used the natural forces of space itself, it needed far less power than traditional weapons. "Time for the first test," Emily said, checking her tablet. They had built a small test version of the gravity core in their lab on Mars. As they started the test sequence, alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. "Warning. Unknown ships detected entering the solar system," a voice announced over the speakers. Robert ran to the command center, Emily right behind him. The screen showed 3 Zarak ships, but these were bigger than the ones from the first attack. "They're heading straight for Mars," said the base commander. "They must have detected our construction yards. Earth fleet is too far away to help." Emily grabbed Robert's arm. "The Guardian isn't ready, but the core works. We could." "Power it up," Robert ordered. "Begin emergency launch sequence." "But we haven't tested the systems," a technician protested. "No choice," Robert said. He turned to Emily. "Want to help me test it in real combat?" She grinned, though her face was pale with fear. "Let's show them what humans can build." They raced to the Guardian. The ship's systems came online as the Zarak drew closer. Robert took the pilot's seat, while Emily manned the gravity controls. They had trained in simulations, but this was different. This was real. The Guardian rose from Mars' surface just as the Zarak ships entered firing range. The alien ships were shocked to see a new kind of vessel facing them, one their scanners couldn't quite understand. "Gravity core at full power," Emily reported. "Ready when you are." Robert smiled. "Let's show them what this ship can do." The Guardian moved like nothing the Zarak had ever seen. It didn't just dodge their attacks. It bent their weapon beams away using gravity fields. When they tried to surround it, The Guardian created a gravity well that pulled their ships off course, making them crash into each other. The battle lasted only 10 minutes. The Zarkax retreated, one of their ships badly damaged. "Send them a message," Robert told Emily. "Tell them this was just a test flight. Imagine what we'll do once we really know how to use the ship." As they watched the aliens flee, both Robert and Emily knew they had done it. They had built humanity's first true warship. The Guardian would protect Earth, and more importantly, it would make any alien think twice about attacking humans again. "You know what this means," Emily said quietly. "The Zarkax will be back, with bigger ships." Robert nodded. "Yes, but we'll be ready. And next time, we'll have more than one Guardian." Commander David Wilson didn't like what he was seeing on the Guardian's main screen. His ship was hiding behind a small moon near Proxima Centauri, watching as 5 huge Zarkax warships attacked a small colony of blue-skinned aliens called the Nayaks. "We're supposed to be testing the ship's long-range capabilities, not getting into fights," said his first officer, Rachel Brown. Earth Command was very clear about that. David watched as another Nayaks building exploded under Zarkax fire. The Nayaks were peaceful. Their only crime was having a rich planet that the Zarkax wanted. "How many Nayaks are down there?" he asked. "About 3,000, Rachel replied. "Mostly families, scientists, farmers." David stood up from his command chair. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we found Zarkax ships attacking innocent people. Then tell them we lost communications." Rachel smiled. She knew what that meant. Accidentally. Very accidentally. Prepare the gravity weapons. Today we find out what the Guardian can really do. The Guardian moved out from behind the moon, its dark hull almost invisible against space. The Zarkax didn't notice it until it was too late. "Target their biggest ship," David ordered. "Full gravity pulse." Emily Foster's gravity weapon worked better than anyone had expected. A wave of concentrated gravity hit the largest Zarkax ship. Metal screamed as the massive ship was crushed like a tin can. The other Zarkax ships turned to fight, but they were too slow. "They still think space combat is about big guns and strong shields," David said. "Show them how humans fight. Split their fleet." The Guardian created gravity wells between the Zarkax ships, pulling them apart. When they tried to fire their weapons, the Guardian's gravity fields bent the energy beams away. One beam was bent back to its source, destroying the ship that fired it. 2 down, Rachel reported. 3 to go. The remaining Zarkax ships tried to surround the Guardian. David just smiled. "Activate the gravity shield, then full power to the compression beam." A bubble of altered gravity surrounded the Guardian, making enemy shots curve around it harmlessly. Then the ship fired its most powerful weapon, a beam that used gravity to compress anything it hit into a tiny ball. One Zarkax ship disappeared, crushed into something the size of a small car. The last 2 Zarkax ships tried to run. The Guardian let one escape. It would spread the word about what happened here. The other wasn't so lucky. It exploded under the Guardian's attacks, its pieces scattered across space. "Check the colony," David ordered. "Make sure the Nayaks are okay." The blue-skinned aliens were more than okay. They were celebrating. The Guardian landed, and David met with their leaders. The Nayaks were amazed that humans would risk their lives to help strangers. "The Zarkax hurt many people," the Nayaks leader said. "No one ever fought back before. No one dared. But you humans, you are different." "We protect those who need help," David replied. "It's what humans do." Before the Guardian left, the Nayaks gave them star maps showing other colonies the Zarkax were attacking. They also offered to share their science and technology with Earth. Back on the Guardian, Rachel looked at the maps. "Earth Command won't be happy we fought without permission." "No," David agreed. "But they'll be very happy about our new allies and all this new technology. Sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than permission." "The Zarkax will be back," Rachel said. "And they'll bring bigger ships." David looked at the star map, at all the dots showing colonies that needed help. Let them come. The Guardian was built to protect others. That's what we're going to do. As the Guardian headed home, news of the battle spread quickly across space. The story grew with each telling. One human ship destroying 5 Zarak warships, saving an entire colony. Other races began to whisper about the Guardian, about the humans who dared to fight back. The Zarak had wanted everyone to fear them. Now, for the first time, they were the ones feeling fear, because somewhere out there was a human ship that could destroy their biggest warships. And rumor said Earth was building more. David Wilson looked out at the stars, thinking about the battles ahead. The Guardian had proved itself in combat. But more importantly, it had proved that humanity would not stand by while others suffered. The age of human peacekeeping in space had begun. Ambassador Karen Martinez walked through the gleaming halls of the space station New Hope, her steps careful in the low gravity. Around her, aliens of 6 different species moved about their business. Just 1 year ago, none of them would talk to humans. Now, thanks to the Guardian, they all wanted to be Earth's friends. Brian Cooper, the station's chief of security, walked beside her. His eyes constantly scanned the crowds, looking for trouble. "I don't like this," he said quietly. "Too many aliens in one place. Too hard to keep safe." "That's the point," Karen said with a smile. "They're here because they want to join us against the Zarak. The Guardian showed them someone can fight back and win." They entered the main meeting hall. Representatives from 12 alien worlds sat around a large table. Some looked almost human. Others were very different. One was made of crystal. Another looked like floating gas. "The Zarak have attacked all of us," Karen began. "They think they can bully smaller worlds. But Earth has proved they can be beaten. Together, we can stop them completely." The alien diplomats nodded. Many had seen videos of the Guardian destroying Zarak ships. They liked the idea of having such a powerful ally. But not everything was going smoothly. Brian noticed a group of maintenance workers acting strangely. They moved like they were nervous, and their uniforms didn't fit quite right. "Ambassador," he whispered to Karen, "we need to leave. Now." Karen had learned to trust Brian's instincts. Without asking questions, she stood up. "Let's take a short break," she told the aliens. They were barely out of the room when explosions rocked the station. Alarms blared. Brian pulled Karen behind a thick pillar as laser fire filled the corridor. "Zarak spies," he shouted over the noise. "Disguised as workers. They're trying to steal the Guardian's plans." The Zarak had infiltrated the station's computer room. They wanted the secrets of the Guardian's gravity weapons, but Brian had prepared for this. "Station security, code black," he said into his radio. Hidden doors in the walls slid open. Security robots rolled out, surrounding the disguised Zarak. The aliens were tough and well-armed, but they were trapped. "Surrender," Brian's voice boomed over the station speakers. "You're surrounded." The lead Zarak snarled. "You humans, always interfering, always ruining our plans." "No," Karen stepped forward. "We just stop bullies. That's all you are. Bullies who can't stand that someone finally stood up to you." The fight was short. The Zarak tried to shoot their way out, but Brian's security teams were ready. Soon all the spies were captured. Later, in the meeting hall, Karen turned this problem into a victory. "See how desperate the Zarak are," she told the alien diplomats. "They fear us working together. They know that united, we can defeat them." The aliens were impressed. Not only had humans built the powerful Guardian, but they had also caught Zarak spies that had fooled everyone else. One by one, they signed the alliance treaty. "A good day's work," Brian said as they watched the alien ships leave the station. "They came to see Earth's strength," Karen replied. "But they're joining us because of our hearts. We don't just fight. We protect. We help. That matters more than any weapon." But both knew the war wasn't over. The Zarak would be angrier than ever now. They had failed to steal the Guardian's secrets, and Earth was building a coalition against them. "Let them come," Ryan said, as if reading her thoughts. "The Guardian isn't just a ship anymore. It's a symbol. It shows that bullies can be beaten, that the strong don't always win." Karen nodded, watching the stars through the station's window. The Guardian had changed everything. Earth wasn't just defending itself anymore. It was becoming a protector of other worlds. "Send a message to Earth," she told her assistant. "Tell them we need more ships like the Guardian. Our new friends will help build them." The Zarkax thought they could rule space through fear. Instead, they united everyone against them. The diplomatic dance had worked better than anyone expected. Earth now had allies, resources, and most importantly, hope. The next time the Zarkax attacked, they wouldn't face one Guardian. They would face an alliance of worlds, standing together against their tyranny. Captain Amy Peterson stood on the Guardian's bridge, her face hard as stone. The screen showed images that made her sick. Alien prisoners in Zarkax labs, being cut open and tested on. The Guardian had found these pictures in a destroyed Zarkax base. "They're doing experiments on every species they can catch," said her science officer, Paul Chen. "Testing their strengths, their weaknesses, even their children." Amy's hands tightened on her chair. "Can you track where they're taking their prisoners?" "Yes, Captain. The files show 3 main lab ships. They move around to avoid detection." "Not anymore," Amy said. "The Guardian was built to protect. It's time to show the Zarkax what happens when they hurt innocent people." The Guardian began hunting. They tracked the first lab ship to a distant system. It was bigger than normal Zarkax ships, painted white instead of their usual metal color. It tried to run when it spotted the Guardian. "Don't let them escape," Amy ordered. "Those prisoners need help." The Guardian's gravity weapons made short work of the lab ship's engines. When they boarded it, they found hundreds of aliens in cells. The Zarkax scientists tried to fight, but Earth Marines were stronger than they expected. "Get these people to safety," Amy told her crew. "Then we find the next lab ship." But the second hunt wasn't so easy. The Zarkax had laid a trap. When the Guardian found the second lab ship, 30 Zarkax warships appeared around it. "They're trying to box us in," said Mark Wilson, the Guardian's pilot. Enemy ships were everywhere, all charging weapons. Amy smiled. "They think they're hunting us. Show them their mistake." The Guardian didn't try to run. Instead, it charged straight at the biggest enemy ship. The Zarkax weren't ready for such a bold move. Before they could react, the Guardian's gravity beams had torn their flagship in half. "Now the fun begins," Amy said. "Let's show them why you don't trap a Guardian." What followed was the biggest battle of the Guardian's history. The human ship danced between enemy vessels, using their own size against them. When they tried to hit the Guardian, they often shot each other instead. The Guardian's gravity weapons crushed some ships and made others crash into each other. 15 enemy ships destroyed, Paul reported. "Wait, they're pulling back." The Zarkax fleet was retreating. They had lost half their ships and hadn't even scratched the Guardian. As they ran, Amy ordered her ship to free the prisoners on the second lab ship. But they had learned something worrying. In the lab ship's computers, they found plans for a new Zarkax weapon, something designed specifically to fight the Guardian. "They're learning," Paul said, "adapting to our tactics." "Good," Amy replied. "It means we're hurting them." "Now where's that third lab ship?" "They found it near a dead star." But this time, Amy knew it was probably another trap, so she set one of her own. The Guardian pretended to be damaged, drifting near the lab ship. When the Zarkax fleet arrived to destroy it, they found not one Guardian, but 3. Earth had secretly built more ships, and Amy had called them in. "Fire everything," she ordered. The Zarkax fleet was caught completely by surprise. 3 Guardians attacking from different directions were too much for them. In 20 minutes, it was over. The lab ships were destroyed. after the prisoners were rescued, and the Zarkak's fleet was in ruins. Later, as they took the rescued aliens home, Amy recorded a message for the Zarkak's leaders. You like to experiment on others. Study this experiment. What happens when you push humans too far? We're not just defending ourselves anymore. We're hunting you now. Remember that next time you think about hurting innocent people. The Guardian's legend grew even larger after this. The story spread across space. One human ship that hunted down 30 Zarkak's warships and freed hundreds of prisoners. Other races began to see Earth not just as an ally, but as a protector. Where do we hunt next? Mark asked as they headed home. Amy looked at the star map, at all the places where people needed help. Everywhere, she said. The Zarkaks thought they could hide their evil in the dark corners of space, but they forgot something important. What's that, Captain? Humans aren't afraid of the dark. And now we have good ships, good crews, and a good reason to fight. The hunters are about to learn what it feels like to be prey. Steve Martinez stared at the Guardian's weapons control panel, his hands shaking slightly. At 26, he was the youngest tactical officer ever assigned to Earth's most famous warship. Being Ambassador Karen Martinez's son made it even harder. Everyone expected great things from him. Incoming ships, announced Mary Wilson. The sensor operator. 3 vessels. Nothing we've ever seen before. The ships on the screen were beautiful and strange. They looked like giant silver snowflakes, each one bigger than the Guardian. They moved in ways that seemed impossible. Not Zarkaks, Steve said. Their ships are always ugly and blocky. These are different. Captain Linda Parker nodded. Open communications. The alien ships responded immediately. A face appeared on the screen, or something like a face. It was made of shifting lights and colors. We are the crystalline unity, it said in perfect English. Your Guardian vessel has drawn our attention. Your gravity weapons are interesting. Primitive, but interesting. Steve felt his face get hot. Nobody called the Guardian primitive. We've been watching your war with the Zarkaks, the alien continued. Amusing. Like children fighting in a playground. We have decided to end it. Surrender your ship for study, or we will take it. Linda stood up from her captain's chair. We don't surrender to bullies, even pretty ones. The alien's lights turned red. You don't understand. We are not the Zarkaks. We are far beyond them. And you. The alien ships moved faster than anything they'd seen before. In seconds, they surrounded the Guardian. Their technology is way ahead of ours, Mary reported. Even the Zarkaks would run from these ships. Steve looked at his weapons panel. The Guardian's gravity weapons were having trouble locking on to the alien ships. They moved too fast, too strangely. But then he remembered something his mother always said. The strongest weapon isn't technology. It's knowing when not to use it. Captain, he said, I have an idea, but you'll have to trust me. Linda looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Do it. Steve turned on the ship's speakers. Crystalline unity, you say we're primitive. Maybe we are, but answer one question. How many races have you helped today? The alien lights flickered in confusion. Help. We do not help lesser beings. That's what I thought, Steve said. Well, yesterday the Guardian saved a colony of silicon-based life forms from a solar storm. The day before, we delivered medicine to the cloud people of Nexus IV. Last week, we helped the water dwellers of Aquarius build new cities. He pressed some buttons, sending images to the alien ships. You're right. Your technology is better than ours. But while you've been watching us fight the Zarkaks, did you notice how many people we've helped? How many lives we've saved? The alien ships didn't move. Their lights changed color slowly, thinking. The Guardian isn't just a warship, Steve continued. It's hope. It means that someone will help you when you're in trouble. Someone will stand up to bullies. Someone cares. He looked at his weapons panel again. So yes, you could probably destroy us. But then who would help all those people? who would keep their hope alive. Are you ready to take on that job? For a long minute, nothing happened. Then the alien ships backed away. You are not what we expected, the crystalline unity said. Perhaps we were hasty. Perhaps we could learn from each other. 2 hours later, the Guardian had new allies. The crystalline unity agreed to help fight the Zarak, but more importantly, they agreed to help protect the weaker races of the galaxy. Good job, Linda told Steve after the aliens left. You found a better way to win. Steve smiled, touching the Guardian's wall gently. This ship taught us all something important. Real strength isn't about having the biggest weapons. It's about how you use what you have to help others. As they headed back to Earth, Steve thought about all the stories he'd heard about the Guardian. How it had changed from a defender to a hunter to something more. A symbol of hope and protection for the whole galaxy. Your mother would be proud, Linda said quietly. Steve nodded, watching the stars streak by. The Guardian's legacy wasn't fear after all. It was hope. And that was worth more than all the advanced weapons in the universe. The old Guardian floated in space above Earth, its dark hull showing the scars of 100 battles. Captain Amy Peterson had returned to take command one last time. Her daughter, Sarah Peterson Martinez, stood beside her as the new first officer. Hard to believe it's been 20 years, Amy said, touching the worn captain's chair. So many battles, so many friends made. So many lives saved. The bridge crew worked quietly, preparing for their most important mission yet. The Zarak had finally asked for peace talks. Their empire was falling apart, beaten not just by Earth's ships, but by the alliance Earth had built. Message from the crystalline unity ships, Sarah reported. They're ready to escort us. The Naix fleet is standing by too. The Guardian led a fleet of ships from 30 different species. Each one had their own reason to hate the Zarak. But today wasn't about hate. It was about something bigger. They met the Zarak at a neutral space station. The alien ships looked smaller than before, less scary. Annie remembered when just one of their ships could terrify whole worlds. Now they were the ones who seemed afraid. Inside the station, Amy saw something she never expected. A Zarak leader bowing his head. We were wrong, the Zarak leader said. His voice was rough, but humble. We thought strength meant making others fear us. But you humans, you showed us a different kind of strength. Amy nodded. Fear is easy. Trust is harder. Are you ready to try the harder path? The peace talks lasted 3 days. The Zarak agreed to free all their conquered worlds. They would help rebuild what they had destroyed. And most importantly, they would join the new Galactic Council, not as rulers, but as equals. It's really over, Sarah said as they watched the Zarak ships leave peacefully. The war we fought our whole lives. But Amy smiled. Not over. Just changing. We built the Guardian to defend Earth. Then we used it to protect others. Now we'll use it to build something even better. The Galactic Council's first meeting was held on the Guardian itself. Amy stood before representatives of 50 species, former enemies now working together. Even the Zarak were there, learning to help instead of hurt. The Guardian was built in fear, Amy told them. We were afraid of aliens who wanted to destroy us. But look what it became. A symbol of hope, of protection, of unity. She touched the ship's wall gently. This old ship taught us all something important. True strength isn't about making others fear you. It's about helping others be strong too. The Council voted to make Earth its headquarters. The Guardian would lead a new fleet. Not warships, but peacekeeping vessels. They would protect the weak, help the needy, and make sure no one ever tried to rule through fear again. Later, alone on the bridge, Amy and Sarah watched Earth shine below them. Ready to retire, Mom? Sarah asked. Let the next generation take over. Amy laughed. Not retiring, just changing jobs. The Guardian still has work to do. We all do. She looked at her daughter proudly. You'll make a good captain. You understand what this ship really is. What's that? A promise. A promise that no one has to face darkness alone. That there's always hope, always help if you need it. The Guardian's sensors picked up a distress call. A small colony having trouble with pirates. Sarah smiled. One last mission together. Why not? Amy sat in the captain's chair. The Guardian was built to cast fear across the stars. But it found a better way. It taught the stars to hope instead. As the old ship moved out, ready for another rescue, its hull still proud despite its scars, Amy thought about all the changes she'd seen. The Guardian had started as Earth's defender. Then it became the hunter of bullies. Now it was something more. A symbol of peace, of unity, of different species working together. Course laid in, Sarah said. Ready when you are, Captain. Amy nodded, looking at the stars ahead. The Guardian had changed the galaxy not through fear, but through courage, compassion, and hope. That was a legacy worth protecting. Take us out, she ordered. There's still good work to be done.